Hi, it is nice to meet you on the path. Today's episode is called Checking Our Feed. The idea is, when we get on Facebook or Instagram or even more than that, which I'll get into, but what is it that we see? What is it that we intentionally take in and give out? What do we put in our feed? So what does that, I think about that feed. What are you feeding people? What's the message that you're giving? What's the messages that you're taking in? There seems to be no end of things that people will argue about. And it's easy to get caught in these, it's like this vortex, this whirlpool of, I commented on, for instance, somebody when the guy broke the 2-hour marathon, somebody shared it. And before I looked into it very much, I just left a comment. And I was like, oh, cool. I wonder what technique he used. I know that David Weck was hoping the 2-hour marathon would be broken with his method. And so what I got back was LOL. They were basically making fun of me for suggesting such a thing. And I'm like, what? That doesn't even make sense. But I found myself, I was like, I found myself like getting engaged in the discussion. This somebody that I kind of know, he's kind of a famous trainer. And what started off was me just like, oh, cool, I wonder what method he used. Well, they couldn't just answer. I don't know. They couldn't answer what technique he did use. One guy wrote left, right, real fast. Okay, well, you're commenting this is for professional trainers, people that want to get a little bit deeper than left, right, real fast. I didn't even respond to that comment. But I found myself engaged, and then I'm checking my phone to see if he said anything else. And I was like, wait, oh man, I'm just going to delete my comment and be done with this. And that's what I did. I wasn't looking for any kind of argument. I just thought it was cool, and I wondered what technique the guy used. It turned out there was, it's not an official world record because the guy it's a whole thing beyond the scope of this show, but we have to be careful what we consume, right? Whether it's through the media, social media, and we need to be equally as careful of what we're putting out. When I do this show, but try to have it be a pretty positive thing, but not just positive, not negative. I don't want to be negative. But what I want to try to do is get to my deeper thoughts. And hopefully in the process of that, the listeners can get to their deeper thoughts also. Because a lot of our thinking, it's just one thought deep. And it takes practice. It takes time to get to why we believe what we believe. Because there's all this craziness that's thrown at us. Whether you're on, talking about politically, that's a good example, right? The left, the right, and if you're identifying as one of those, well, man, those other people sure are crazy, aren't they? Maybe your team has it together, but man, those other guys. They sure are wacky, aren't they? The other people. Our team's right though. They got it together. And I think about there's this quote. Where was it? It's I don't have it handy, but it's by Krishnamurti, and basically he was saying, and I had this similar kind of thought myself, maybe not articulated quite so well as him, but he's basically saying if you call yourself a Christian or a Muslim or a Hindu or an Indian or a this or that, it's violence. And the reason for that is you're separating yourself from others. And I kind of like that. It kind of makes sense to me, like what's, not that I think I'm trying to get people to not be Christians or Muslims or anything like that. Do whatever you want to do, whatever feels right to you. But I don't know that I try to like call myself something that other people are not. Here's a contradiction. I'll say I'm a vegan. Are you a vegan? I bet you're not. Some of you, I'm sure you are. But some of you are not. So if I say I'm a vegan, is that, yeah, it gets kind of odd, doesn't it? But when I say I'm a vegan, I'm not saying you're wrong for not being one. This is my belief system that started 25 years ago, 1994. I quit eating meat. And then about half of this time I've been vegan. And I did have some preachy periods of time in there. And I don't do that anymore. I don't preach to people. I probably have more friends. I do have more friends that are hunters than vegans. No, there's nothing to argue about. I can talk to people about what they believe and not feel threatened by it. If somebody's can have a conversation and not just want to be insulting or something, then we can have a conversation. But too many people are just ready for an argument. And why is that? Why do you think that is? Why can they pick up on something? For me, something as innocent as, oh, cool, I wonder what technique the guy used, like what running technique. I don't think that's a crazy question. There's a bunch of different running techniques. But somebody thought, well, we'll turn this into an argument. It's just a question. So what do you put out there? What do you bite into? It can be easy to get sucked in. It's like there's some kind of threat, and then we go into this primal thing. The front part of the brain shuts off, and it's just that survival thing. So even though the threat is just some nonsense on Facebook, our brains and then the rest of our body perceives it differently. Like, this is serious, and this is worth fighting over. This is worth killing somebody over. Now, it doesn't get that far. Well, But I've seen so many people, threaten violence over silliness on Facebook. And a lot of times it's just by these trolls. They're these people on these accounts that aren't even real. These people make these fake accounts, and I saw it just the other day. And I'm on Facebook, and it was something about, it was in like this Brazilian jiu-jitsu group. And somebody asked a question. There's a lot of people in this group. I think it's like 20,000 people, or I don't know, a lot of people. Somebody asked a question, and somebody chimes in. There's only one way to learn jiu-jitsu, and it's not going to be from the video. And it's like just this attack of like somebody's just asking a question, somebody that's new, and then people are engaging with this guy. And I'm just I'm observing. I'm not commenting. I'm just observing this. And the guy that commented, like, there's only one way to learn, and being insulting about these videos this guy was asking about. His name was Jack Mehoff. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's a fake account. So I click on him, and it's like, it's clearly so fake. But people that get wrapped up into that, they're not thinking that way. That part of the brain shuts off, and now we're in, the mode of dealing with a real threat. This guy's a real threat. It's amazing. Amazing how much time people put into feeding people this kind of junk. Imagine if they spent that much time. I mean, even like this inspirational quotes, all these like cliched inspirational quotes. It's still kind of nice to see. It's more pleasant to see than, I'd rather see some cliche manufactured inspirational quote than some troll just trying to cause an argument just for. So what are you putting out there, and what are you biting into? How can we do better? Like I said, I mean, I'm not immune to this. Like I put my innocent comment question, and then all of a sudden I find myself engaged. And then, I don't know how many comments I wrote. I think it might have been 2 more after my first one, before I was like, oh, that thing's happening. I'm just going to delete all of this, and had to be, that's a good reminder to not do that. But today, I wanted this show to be some good food for thought for you. And one of my favorite chefs of thought food is Kahlil Gibran. So I think I'm going to read something. This thing I'm going to read, I was thinking about doing this last. It's going to take me a little while to read it. I'm not sure how long. It's probably going to take me 10 minutes to read it. Maybe not that long. Yeah, probably less than 10 minutes to read it, which it'd be the longest thing I've read on the show. But I don't think I've actually read all the way through it myself. I haven't read through it. It's the last part of The Prophet. When I skimmed through it just a little bit, I had the idea, and I think it'll be cool. Maybe I'll read some stuff before then, because I think that's probably a good way to end it. Or I don't know. We'll see. We'll decide in a minute. One thing, I normally don't advertise my training on the show, but I'm having a special. And so just like real quickly here, I'm having a special. It's been a long time since I had one. I think it's been a year. But I'm offering 10 sessions for the price of 8, or 20 sessions for the price of 15. And these can be online using Zoom meeting, which is, if you're not sure, it's like Skype, basically. It's like Skype. And I can demonstrate the techniques, correct your techniques in real time. And so you're 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or 1 hour. It's live. I don't have anything ready to just give to somebody when they say they want to train. There's nothing ready. I need to know, what are your goals? What kind of equipment do you have? What is your situation? When I know that, then I can design a program for you. So 8 sessions, or 10 sessions for the price of 8, 20 for the price of 15. It's not a bad deal at all. I think my regular prices are very fair. And so I have my gym, my studio is in Broad Ripple. It's Indianapolis, north side of Indianapolis. And then with Zoom meeting, you can be anywhere on the planet. I'm happy to work with you from anywhere. And my specialty is kettlebell lifting, but I use barbells, dumbbells, medicine balls, body weight. There's all kinds of fitness tools, like whatever you have. If you're doing home training, whatever you have, we can work with it for sure. And you don't have to decide on whether you want 10 sessions or 20 until after the first one. So if you just want to try out one, you can just pay for one. And then if you want to do the program, get the special, then we'll just put that have that included in the special. You don't have to decide first. So, and that also goes for anyone who works with me currently. So if you're paid up on sessions already, if you want to add another 10 or 20, I'll give it to you for that special price. So you can get a hold of me. I guess the easy one to remember, if you're listening, is pathnotespodcast@gmail.com. And if you want to check out more of what I'm doing, you can see my website. It has a good amount of information on it, and some testimonials and stuff. It's Ryan@hadleyfitness.com. That's my email. Hadleyfitness.com is the website. HADLEYFITNESS.com. So enough of that. I don't want to just talk about my business stuff, but I did want to make that offer. And my idea is, so many people, they gain 10 pounds over the holidays, and then New Year's Eve comes along and they make that resolution. I'm going to start going to the gym. I'm going to lose this weight. I'm going to get fit. I'm going to do that 5K. I'm going to do whatever it is. Let's start now. Let's not wait until January 1st. I don't know when you're hearing this. This show's going to be on, this show's going to be on forever and ever. And I'll tell you what, if you tell me that you heard the deal on this show, even if it's after, I was going to say this deal is good until the first of the year. because that was kind of my idea behind it, but no matter when you hear this episode, no matter where you are on the planet, tell me that you heard it on this show and I will give you that price. So, because I don't want somebody to hear this in January 2nd and then I'm like, well, the deal's over. But if you hear this on the show, I'll give you the price. I'll give that deal to you. It can be next summer, whenever you hear the show, because people are still listening to the shows from last year. And that's kind of the idea behind it too, is to have these shows that are evergreen. They're always good. So how about we dig into a little Kahlil Gibran? I'm going to read a couple things out of the Little Book of Life, Kahlil Gibran's Little Book of Life. I think this is like a compilation of stuff. I think this is from, pretty sure. Okay. On the back of it, the value of time. They deem me mad because I will not sell my days for gold, and I deem them mad because they think my days have a price. They spread before us their riches of gold and silver, of ivory and ebony, and we spread before them our hearts and our spirits, and yet they deem themselves the hosts and us the guests. This is all read randomly. I used to have a part of the show called Random Rumi Readings, and I had to return all my Rumi books to the library. I'll have to get them again. But this will be some random Kahlil Gibran readings. Our life force increases as we bring more beauty into our lives. In whatever form we appreciate it, life then moves us from within to create beauty and share it with others. Yeah. We only live to discover beauty. All else is a form of waiting. That's cool. Now, what was I thinking? What was I just going to say? Oh, so I've done some, if you want to check out my Instagram, it's at Hadley Fitness. And, on Facebook, I have Hadley Fitness, Hadley. And on Instagram, I like Instagram because you can have music on there that's not that like copyright free stuff. That's just not very good. So I had Ajit Kaur on my playlist. I really like her music a lot. She does mantras and her voice is so great. And her Narayan Shabd is really cool. And so I shared the last 10 minutes of my workout today. And I shared the last 10 minutes of my workout, I think it was last Monday, or maybe it was Sunday, or whatever it was, my one before this one that I shared. It was 10 minutes and it had the Narayan Shabd. So I'm doing pull-ups and I'm doing, what else was I doing? Squats. 2 Sanskrit mantra. Now, I don't know how to quite articulate what. See, when I'm working out, it's also a work in, right? I'm doing like this inner work also. It's not just, oh, I want my legs to be bigger, so I'm going to squat. I want my back to be bigger, so I'm going to do pull-ups. I want my arms to, if my legs get a little bigger, okay, but I'm not really trying to make my legs bigger. I do want to get stronger. I do want to stay strong throughout my whole life and move well. But if I wanted my legs to be bigger, I'd be eating a lot more and doing stuff that people do to make their legs a lot bigger. But it's not just about that. It's like this inner work. So I'm always hashtagging yoga. So if I'm doing squats, I'm doing pull-ups, why isn't that yoga? Okay. And just because somebody's at a yoga class doing up dog, down dog, and all that, you sure that's yoga? Are you sure they're doing yoga? Maybe the person next to them is, and maybe it all is, because we're all trying, right? We're all doing what we do. We're all trying to get better. And we may see each other as, oh, she's just wanting to show off her butt, or she's just trying to look hot while she does these poses. Yeah, cool. This person, they're just trying to work on their stress. They have a lot going on, and for that hour and 15 minutes or whatever that they're on the mat, even though their technique isn't going to be beautiful by most people's standards, that's a beautiful thing. So, are you sure you can judge whether somebody's doing yoga or not? And do they have to be in a yoga class? Do they have to be doing if you pick up a yoga book, I have one right here, and flip to a page, is that just because somebody's doing that move, are you sure that's yoga? So what's yoga? I'm going to do an episode on this. I'm trying to figure out how to. That one I'm going to have to prepare a lot for, and I think write things out how I want to say them. I got my first 2 yoga books in 1994. I was at a Grateful Dead concert, and the same year I went vegetarian, actually. What a coincidence, huh? And so I got these 2 yoga books, and it was more like Krishna consciousness yoga. It wasn't up dog, down dog, and that kind of thing. These 2 books were based on the Bhagavad Gita. One of them was The Journey of Self-Discovery, and the other one was The Science of Self-Realization by Srila Prabhupada. And it's parts of the Bhagavad Gita explained, basically, is what it is. And so that was my first real introduction to yoga. And I was meditating with friends, and we were taking each other on guided meditations. And then, it was many years later that I went to an actual yoga class. Now, I was already into yoga at my jiu-jitsu school. Our warm-up, if you just looked in there, like you didn't see jiu-jitsu on the sign and you just peeked in the window, you're like, why are all these people doing yoga in jiu-jitsu uniforms? The warm-up looked like yoga stuff. It might look like an up dog, a down dog, and all this kinds of stuff. Why? The teacher didn't call it yoga. It was the warm-up. But if you're just looking in the window, think, why are they wearing jiu-jitsu uniforms in a yoga class? And then you stick around for 10 minutes, and then like, oh, it's a jiu-jitsu class. Yeah. But I had some ideas on. So, anyways, when I did get to my first yoga class, I don't even know how many years ago it was now. It's been several years ago. I was kind of shocked. And at first I thought the teacher was really good, and he was supposed to be, people were describing him as the teacher's teacher and like the great teacher of the Midwest. And I don't know. And I already had tons of books. I was practicing on my own, especially like more of the internal stuff. But I did a lot of all the asanas and the whole thing, following along to DVDs and making up my own sequences and flows and doing all kinds of stuff. But the first class, that was what I went into, and I was like, huh. And he's cranking people's legs behind their head, causing obvious pain. And as a jiu-jitsu guy, I'm looking at that like, that is not appropriate. You can't, that's not good for the joints. I was like, I know that from jiu-jitsu. I know what that feels like because that happens to me at submission hold also. And there's no tap. There's just, but anyway, so I was teaching martial arts there for a while, and I was going to go through yoga teacher training there, and it took over 1,000 hours to get a 500-hour certification through him. And to me, that sounded cool. That sounded good. And then, but the more I was around there, and I found out he was being like creepy with the women, and I heard it from the women themselves and what had happened. And so I didn't want to be associated with that place anymore. And that was this whole strange thing. And then I went to other yoga classes and yoga workshops, and I've been to a good number of them. And there's some good teachers out there. And so I have my own thoughts. They're fluid thoughts. Some stuff is like, yeah, don't just wrench somebody's leg behind their head when they're in obvious pain. I can say, yeah, don't do that. But as far as a lot of the other stuff goes, I have pretty fluid thinking, and like a lot of like when you ask Dr. Stuart McGill a question, a lot of times the answer is it depends. He works with all these elite level athletes. Has been studying this stuff for 30 years or more, whatever, doing constant research, putting out, and his answer is a lot of times it depends. So my thinking is rather fluid also, but I'm part of this yoga group on Facebook, and it's not immune to those downward spirals like I was talking about before, but in the comment sections. But when I've given my ideas, there's like 25,000 people in this group. When I have given my ideas on how yoga can be changed, I've had a pretty good reception from it. And I thought about to create a system of it, it would be a ton of work that never ended, really. And I've had people interested in that and encouraging me, because when I'm giving them my ideas, these teachers that have been teaching yoga for 30 years, and they're changing their ways because they see that what they were doing was hurting people, and they feel terrible that they're teaching people stuff that hurts them. And so they're changing their ways, and they're facing that truth. It's a really good group. I'll go ahead and plug it. It's I don't want to say it wrong now. Yoga and Movement Research Community. I really recommend joining that if you're part of that mind that wants to really know. There's a lot of really great teachers in there with great ideas, and a lot of these posts get 100 comments too. I mean, it can go downhill sometimes, like any other comment section, but you can get a ton of good information. But when I've expressed my ideas, I've generally had a pretty good reception from these teachers that I respect. So who brought that up? Where was I going with that? Oh, I was talking about the music that I played during I was going to do this show. I was going to do another show called But I Digress, because I do that a lot. But this is all stream of consciousness stuff. I have my ideas for the show. I have some stuff planned out to talk about. But for the most part, and it's not because I don't care, it's because I want it to be natural and free flowing, and people say that they like it. So I don't, if I have a guest, I write out a bunch of stuff about them to ask about. And then when I'm doing it myself, it's more like stuff I think about all week. But anyways, the music that I play during my workout is often like a spiritual kind of music. Now, I mean, like spiritual kind of music, it could be in like some rock and roll kinds of stuff, but that's spiritual too, right? Who's to say what it is and isn't? But I had Ajit Kaur, her Narayan Shabd, and then today I started off with Deva Premal's Gayatri mantra, and then I switched it to on the video I did, it was Rai Cooder and VM Bhat, and it's called this song called Ganges Delta Blues. And so it's like this Indian guy playing a guitar, like a dobro kind of guitar. And then Rai Cooder is a fantastic guitar player. They're both amazing musicians. So it's kind of like, so it's called like the Ganges Delta Blues. So the Ganges, okay, we're talking about India. And then the Delta, okay, kind of, it can be India, right? But also south of in the United States, and like Mississippi, and where those old bluesmen come from, a lot of them, and so imagine a mix of that kind of music. Oh man, it's so cool. So I was working out to that. See, I'm not working out to like hard stuff usually. I did do a session to the new Tool album, and I could kind of get it, but I really like working out the spiritual stuff. And if you can tell me that when I'm doing squats with a kettlebells or barbells, and I have Ajit Kaur or Deva Premal on or whatever, it's not yoga? Are you sure? I'd say it is. But I'm going to get into that. Episode's going to be an interesting when I do my yoga episode. Because I'm going to be given so for instance, do you believe in the chakras? Okay. Well, which system do you believe in if so? Because there's more than one system. And what about the colors? Weren't the colors just added by Carl Jung? Is there any ancient text that talks about the colors? And even if there's not an ancient text that talks about the colors, does that mean Carl Jung was wrong and it's just a different model? Or what is it? What's a different model? What's that even mean? While I'm on the subject here, I have this book here. Hope you can see it with the other reflecting from my light here, but it's called Yoga, the Art of Transformation. It's a pretty thick book. But so the Art of Transformation has all this artwork in it. It's just this amazing ancient art, statues and paintings. And so when we can write something and say it was written a long time ago, but when there's a statue that can be dated to a certain time, or a painting, then we can see the teachings. We can learn the teachings if we know how to decode the paintings, if we know what these paintings are symbolic of, because these Indian paintings, they're not just a picture of something neat. Each little thing is symbolic of a whole teaching. It's really cool. I highly recommend this book. But I digress. Anyways, what was I talking about? Singing. This is back to Kahlil Gibran here. If you sing of beauty, though alone in the heart of the desert, you will have an audience. A great singer is he who sings our silences. They say the nightingale pierces his bosom with a thorn when it sings its love song. So do we all. How else should we sing? Genius is but a robin's song and the beginning of a slow spring. The poet. He is a link between this and the coming world. He is a pure spring from which all thirsty souls may drink. He is a tree watered by the river of beauty, bearing fruit that the hungry heart craves. He is a nightingale, soothing the depressed spirit with his beautiful melodies. He is a white cloud appearing over the horizon, ascending and growing until it fills the face of the sky. Then it falls on the flowers in the field of life, opening their petals to admit the light. He is an angel sent by the goddess to preach the deity's gospel. He is a brilliant lamp, unconquered by darkness and inextinguishable by the wind. It is filled with oil by the Ishtar of love and lighted by Apollon of music. He is a solitary figure, robed in simplicity and kindness. He sits upon the lap of nature to draw his inspiration and stays up in the silence of the night, awaiting the descending of the Spirit. He is a sower who sows the seeds of his heart in the prairies of affection, and humanity reaps the harvest for her nourishment. This is the poet whom the people ignore in this life, and who is recognized only when he bids the earthly world farewell and returns to his arbor in heaven. This is the poet who asks not of humanity but a smile. This is the poet whose spirit ascends and fills the firmament with beautiful sayings, yet the people deny themselves his radiance. Until when shall the people remain asleep? Until when shall they continue to glorify those who attain greatness by moments of advantage? How long shall they ignore those who enable them to see their beauty of their spirit, symbol of peace and love? Until when shall human beings honor the dead and forget the living, who spend their lives encircled in misery, and who consume themselves like burning candles to illuminate the way for the ignorant and lead them into the path of light? Poet, you are the life of this life, and you have triumphed over the ages despite their severity. Poet, you will one day rule the hearts, and therefore your kingdom has no ending. Poet, examine your crown of thorns. You will find concealed in it a budding wreath of laurel. You know, something that rang out to me there: until when shall human beings honor the dead and forget the living, who spend their lives encircled in misery, and et cetera, et cetera. So I usually drink out of my dad's mug. My dad died in 2005. I still have his mug, and I drink out of it pretty much every day in my coffee. And my mom is still alive, and I'm drinking out of the mug that she gave me today. It's a mug of Aschaffenburg. It's the town in Germany where she was born. This mug is from there. Sometimes, you know, when people die, maybe we pay more attention to them than when they were alive, and more than the ones around us who are still alive. And I think I I might do that sometimes, not always. I mean, I'm always trying to get a hold of my kids, and but I probably go too long without talking to my mom, and there's no reason for it. There's no reason for it. But there's, kind of a ritual that I do before each show to kind of get ready. Sometimes I'm pacing around the apartment and I'm preparing like it's like this event, and I light my incense. I light my sage bundle. And that sage bundle was given to me by a friend. She gave it to me when I was helping her move a few years ago. I still have it. And I burn it regularly, at least like once a week. And it just keeps going. It doesn't take much for the sage to have its effect on the room. And she asked me to help her move last weekend, and I told her that I would. And then I wasn't able to. I was planning on working on my car. I had both my cars are messing with me, which was the story then, and it's the story now. And so I didn't end up helping her. I've helped her move a few times, but this time I said I would. And then about a week, several days before, I told her I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to because I had to work on my car. And I need to get a hold of her and see how that move went. And she's someone that I like her quite a bit. We've been friends for several years, and there was a really short time where we were kind of like dating a little bit, but most of the time just friends, and that's all I care to be. But yeah, she's a good person who's had some tough breaks. And that day when I probably could have helped her move. Sometimes, even though I was planning on working on my car, I was planning on working on my car today, and I didn't do it either. I was just going to put a new thermostat in it, and normally putting a thermostat in a car doesn't take very long. For my car, I put one in my Jeep, and you're done in 10 minutes. It's not a big deal. Well, for my car, I don't even know that that's the problem, but the heater is not working. And I took this part off by the radiator hose, and I thought it kind of had like this dome part. It looked like a thermostat housing, and I take it off. It's kind of a pain to get to, but I took it off, and then there's no thermostat under there. I took off the wrong piece. Okay, so it's not that one. I know which one it is now, but you can't just take it off. You have to take off the like where the air filter is, and then like the hose going to the intake. You have to take off like the whole air filter box and the hose, and you can't just, it's not that bad. But then, so I'm going to the gym today, and I go there, I do my workout, and then I go back out and I try to start my car, and it's just like, it's something else is messing up now. God, you've got to be kidding me. It's so many things have went wrong with it. It's insane. It's like I can't, like, I don't even know that the thermostat is what's wrong, because it runs with perfect temperature. And so it's just, maybe the thermostat's just stuck open, and then that's why the heater's not working, which, whatever. But I go out to start it, and it's not starting. You got to be kidding me. It's turning over and cranking, and has a new battery, it has a new starter, it has new tires. So that can be it. It's like, God, you got to be kidding me. So I get out, and I'm trying to make sure things are connected, and I end up getting it started, and I get it home and start it again, and it fired right up. It's like, man, you got to be kidding me. I don't understand. I plan on getting a new car in the spring, so I don't want a car payment. I'm basically just wanting to save up enough to buy something good, cash. And sometimes it's just amazing how many things can go wrong. Now I have all kinds of amazing things happening with the gym and the podcast, and there's, I have like what I call my job also. I work from 6 a.m. until 2:30 p.m. at this shop, and I basically cut wood with lasers, is to make it simple. And so I have all these things that are going well, but there's some stuff. It's like with everybody, it's just their life situations. It just seems like I don't understand how so many things can just go wrong. Anyways, I was talking about that friend, and so I was almost going to call this show the 10 count, or take a breath, which those might be episodes in the future. But it's easy to get like wrapped up into something like feed ourselves. So when I go out and I turn my key and the car is not starting, well, what am I going to allow to go on in my brain? Because that's going to control what goes on in my body too. All the flood of chemicals and stuff that happens when we get mad, frustrated, and what story am I going to tell myself? It's like one of the things with Zen meditation is, don't tell yourself a story when you're meditating. You just concentrate your posture. There's a bit more to it than that, but that's basically it. So what am I going to feed myself when that's going on? So at first, maybe that front part of the brain shuts off, because now I'm under this kind of a threat, a car not working. It's winter, another problem. Power steering went out. I had problems starting it before. I fixed it. Need a new battery. There's so many things. I won't name them all. And then with my Cherokee, there's a few things. But what story do you allow yourself? What kind of thoughts do you feed yourself? Because that is going to be the food you give the rest of your body also. You're controlling those chemicals. You can control those chemicals. It's up to you. And it's a practice. Okay. Even though I'm pretty good at it, I've been studying Zen for 20 years, practicing Zen for 20 years, not just studying it, actually practicing it. Still working on it. With the life or people that are alive, people that are dead, I think it's good to remember those who have been here before. Is part of it, you think, because we want to be remembered after we check out of Hotel Earth? We need to make sure we keep in touch with the living too, because that's where we are, and we have friends in need. And I felt bad about not helping my friend. I've helped her move other times. I could have done it, but I needed to work on my car, and I don't think that I even got to working on my car. Or maybe I did. Maybe I did, but maybe it was that time when I tried to fix it, and then I pulled off the wrong part and then realized, yeah, I don't know. But anyways, so the 10 count that I was referring to, when something happens, count to 10, take 10 breaths, and then respond. When you see that comment on Facebook where somebody's taking a jab at you, or not, 1, 2, longer, 3, get to 10. You sure you want to respond? When something happens, you go to start your car, same thing. Instead of letting that flood of stress chemicals go through your body, 1, give it 10 breaths, and then you can think. I'm going to finish off with this last part of the prophet. Even though I've opened this book up many times, mostly to read it on the air, I have not read this before. Probably because of the length of it. A lot of times when I'm reading something on the air, I want it to be things that are pretty fast. So this is going to take I don't know how long it'll take. Put it in a good spot here. And now it was evening, and Almitra the seeress said, "Blessed be this day and this place and your spirit that has spoken." And he answered, "Was it I who spoke? Was I not also a listener?" Then he descended the steps of the temple, and all the people followed him, and he reached his ship and stood upon the deck. And facing the people again, he raised his voice and said, "People of Orphalese, the wind bids me leave you. Less hasty am I than the wind, yet I must go. We wanderers, ever seeking the lonelier way, begin no day where we have ended another day, and no sunrise finds us where sunset left us. Even while the earth sleeps, we travel. We are the seeds of the tenacious plant, and it is in our ripeness and our fullness of heart that we are given to the wind and are scattered. Brief were my days among you, and briefer still the words I have spoken. But should my voice fade in your ears and my love vanish in your memory, then I will come again. And with a richer heart and lips more yielding to the Spirit will I speak. Yeah, I shall return with the tide, and though death may hide me, and the greater silence enfold me, yet again will I seek your understanding, and not in vain will I seek. If aught I have said is truth, that truth shall reveal itself in a clearer voice, and in words more kin to your thoughts. I go with the wind, people of Orphalese, but not down into emptiness. And if this day is not a fulfillment of your needs and my love, then let it be a promise till another day. Man's needs change, but not his love, nor his desire that his love should satisfy his needs. Know, therefore, that from the greater silence I shall return. The mist that drifts away at dawn, leaving but dew in the fields, shall rise and gather into a cloud, and then fall down into rain. And not unlike the mist have I been. In the stillness of the night, I have walked in your streets, and my spirit has entered your houses. And your heartbeats were in my heart, and your breath was upon my face, and I knew you all. I knew your joy and your pain, and in your sleep, your dreams were my dreams. And oftentimes I was among you, a lake among the mountains. I mirrored the summits in you and the bending slopes, and even the passing flocks of your thoughts and your desires. And to my silence came the laughter of your children in streams, and the longing of your youths in rivers. And when they reached my depth, the streams and the rivers ceased not yet to sing. But sweeter still than laughter and greater than longing came to me. It was the boundless in you, the vast man in whom you are all but cells and sinews, he in whose chant all your singing is but a soundless throbbing. It is in the vast man that you are vast, and in the beholding him that I beheld you and loved you. For what distances can love reach that are not in that vast sphere? What visions, what expectations, and what presumptions can outsoar that flight? Like a giant oak tree covered with apple blossoms is the vast man in you. His might binds you to the earth. His fragrance lifts you into space, and in his durability, you are deathless. You have been told that, even like a chain, you are as weak as your weakest link. This is but half the truth. You are also as strong as your strongest link. To measure you by the smallest deeds is to reckon the power of the ocean by the frailty of its foam. To judge you by your failures is to cast blame upon the seasons for their inconsistency. You are like the ocean, and though heavy grounded ships await the tide upon your shores, yet even like an ocean, you cannot hasten your tides, and like the seasons, you are also. And though in your winter you deny your spring, yet spring, reposing within you, smiles in her drowsiness and is not offended. Think not I say these things in order that you may say the one to the other, he praised us well, he saw but the good in us. I only speak to you in words of that which you yourselves know in thought. And what is word knowledge but a shadow of wordless knowledge? Your thoughts and my words are waves from a sealed memory that keeps records of our yesterdays and of the ancient days when the earth knew not us nor herself, and of nights when earth was upwrought with confusion. Wise men have come to you to give you of their wisdom. I came to take of your wisdom. And behold, I have found that which is greater than wisdom. It is flame spirit in you, ever gathering more of itself, while you, heedless of its expansion, bewail the withering of your days. It is life in quest of life in bodies that fear the grave. There are no graves here. These mountains and plains are a cradle, and a stepping stone. Whenever you pass by the field where you have laid your ancestors, look thereupon, and you shall see yourselves and your children dancing hand in hand. Verily, you often make merry without knowing. Others have come to you to whom for golden promises made unto your faith you have given but riches and power and glory. Less than a promise have I given, and yet more generous have you been to me. You have given me my deeper thirsting after life. Surely there is no greater gift to a man than that which turns all his aims into parching lips and all life into a fountain. And in this lies my honor and my reward, that whenever I come to the fountain to drink, I find the living water itself thirsty, and it drinks me while I drink it. Some of you have doomed me proud and over shy to receive gifts. Too proud indeed am I to receive wages, but not gifts. And though I have eaten berries among the hills, when you would have had me sit at your board, and slept in the portico of the temple when you gladly have sheltered me. Yet it was not your loving mindfulness of my days and my nights that made food sweet to my mouth and girdled my sleep with visions. For this I bless you most. You give much, and I know not that you give at all. You give much and know not that you give at all. Verily, the kindness that gazes upon itself in a mirror turns to stone, and a good deed that calls itself by tender names becomes the parent to a curse. And some of you have called me aloof and drunk with my own aloneness. And you have said, he holds counsel with the trees of the forest, but not with men. He sits alone on hilltops and looks down upon our city. True it is that I have climbed the hills and walked in the remote places. How could I have seen you save from a great height or a great distance? How can one indeed be near unless he be far? And others among you called unto me, not in words, and they said, Stranger, stranger, lover of unreachable heights, why dwell you among the summits where eagles build their nests? Why seek you the unattainable? What storms would you trap in your net, and what vaporous birds do you hunt in the sky? Come and be one of us. Descend and appease your hunger with our bread, and quench your thirst with our wine. In the solitude of their souls they said these things. But were their solitude deeper, they would have known that I sought but the secret of your joy and your pain, and I hunted only your larger selves that walk the sky. But the hunter was also the hunted. For many of my arrows left my bow, only to seek my own breast, and the flyer was also the creeper. For when my wings were spread in the sun, their shadow upon the earth was a turtle. And I, the believer, was also the doubter. For often have I put my finger in my own wound, that I might have the greater belief in you and the greater knowledge of you. And it is with this belief and this knowledge that I say, you are not enclosed within your bodies, nor confined to houses or fields. That which is you dwells above the mountains and roves with the wind. It is not a thing that crawls into the sun for warmth or digs holes into darkness for safety, but a thing free, a spirit that envelops the earth and moves in the ether. If vague be these words, then seek not to clear them. Vague and nebulous is the beginning of all things, but not their end. And I fain would have you remember me as a beginning. Life and all that lives is conceived in the mist and not in the crystal. and who knows but a crystal is mist in decay. This which I have you remember in remembering me, that which seems most feeble and bewildered in you is the strongest and most determined. Is it not your breath that has erected and hardened the structure of your bones? And is it not a dream which none of you remember having dreamt that builded your city and fashioned all there is in it? Could you but see the tides of that breath, you would cease to see all else. And if you could hear the whispering of the dream, you would hear no other sound. But you do not see, nor do you hear, and it is well. The veil that clouds your eyes shall be lifted by the hands that wove it. And the clay that fills your ears shall be pierced by those fingers that kneaded it. And you shall see, and you shall hear. Yet you shall not deplore having known blindness, nor regret having been deaf. For in that day you shall know the hidden purposes in all things, and you shall bless darkness as you would bless light. After saying these things, he looked about him, and he saw the pilot of his ship standing by the helm and gazing now at the full sails and now at the distance. And he said, "Patient, over patient is the captain of my ship. The wind blows, and restless are the sails. Even the rudder begs direction. Yet quietly my captain awaits my silence, and these, my mariners, have heard the choir of the greater sea. They too have heard me patiently. Now they shall wait no longer. I am ready. The stream has reached the sea, and once more the great mother holds her son against her breast. Fare you well, people of Orphalese. This day has ended. It is closing upon us, even as the water lily upon its own tomorrow. What was given us here we shall keep. And if it suffices not, then again we must come together, and together stretch our hands unto the giver. Forget not that I shall come back to you. A little while, and my longing shall gather dust and foam for another body. A little while, a moment of rest upon the wind, and another woman shall bear me. Farewell to you and the youth I have spent with you. It was but yesterday we met in a dream. You have sung to me in my aloneness, and I of your longings have built a tower in the sky. But now our sleep has fled and our dream is over, and it is no longer dawn. The noontide is upon us, and half waking has turned to fuller day, and we must part. If in the twilight of memory we should meet once again, we shall speak again together, and you shall sing to me a deeper song. And if our hands should meet in another dream, we shall build another tower in the sky. So saying, he made a signal to the seamen, and straightway they weighed anchor and cast the ship loose from its moorings, and they moved eastward. And a cry came from the people from a single heart, and it rose into the dusk, and it was carried out over the sea like a great trumpeting. Only Almitra was silent, gazing after the ship until it had vanished into the mist. And when all the people were dispersed, she stood still, alone upon the seawall, remembering in her heart his saying, "A little while, a moment of rest upon the wind, and another woman shall bear me." Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time.